Well, thank you, Madam Chair. We're here today having another hearing, the second in 6 months, on Purdue Pharma and the Sackler family. This hearing, however, is a little different than the one we had in December. That's because this hearing is the first meeting of the committee book club. That's right. The committee star witness today, Patrick Keefe, recently wrote a book on the Sackler family that was released just weeks ago. In fact, just minutes after the Democrats announced this hearing, Mr. Keefe blasted out the hearing announcement on his Twitter page and used the opportunity to talk about his book. His book currently ranks on Amazon as #1 in the pharmaceutical and biotechnology industry category, #1 in the white-collar true crime accounts category, but only #2 in the biographies of business leaders category. Mr. Keefe donated thousands of dollars exclusively to Democrats and Stacey Abrams linked groups last election cycle. So perhaps this is the Democrats' way of paying him back by helping him reach #1 in that third book category. Mr. Keefe is a reporter for the New Yorker and formerly of the New York Times. If there's a better way to show the cozy relationship between Democrats and the media, other than having him here at this hearing to promote his own book, I don't know what it is. Mr. Keefe can't really add anything to today's hearing. We already know the Sackler family played an enormous role in our country's tragic opioid epidemic. There could be no doubt about that. But there has been and continues to be a legal reckoning for Purdue Pharma and the Sackler family. Their many victims are having their day in court. In fact, as we speak, there's a landmark bankruptcy proceeding, which will hopefully provide some financial restitution to hundreds of municipalities across the country. Purdue Pharma and the Sacklers undoubtedly must be held to account for their contribution to the growing opioid epidemic. But this hearing is not doing that. In fact, this hearing just appears to be helping political allies. Instead, at this point, we should be focused on other aspects of the opioid epidemic. We have a growing number of illicit opioids streaming across our southern border. My Republican colleagues and I have sent 3 letters to Chairwoman Maloney asking her to hold a hearing on the Biden border crisis. We have not yet had one. The longer the chairwoman waits to hold a hearing on the border crisis, the more Americans are dying due to the illicit fentanyl coming across the border. And the economic shutdowns during the COVID pandemic have prevented opioid abuse disorder patients from being able to access care. Without access to care, patients are isolated and at a significantly higher risk of relapsing. This hearing misses the point. It is so focused on the Sackler family that it forgets the ongoing epidemic affecting millions of Americans each day. I urge the chairwoman to hold a hearing on the border crisis, to stop the illicit trafficking of fentanyl, and to reopen our country so that patient can access the care they need. Our witness today, former Office of National Drug Control Policy Head Jim Carroll, knows full well about the illicit trafficking of fentanyl across our border. He can speak at length about combating opioids, what works and what doesn't, because he is the only witness here who has experience doing that. If we really want to better understand the opioid epidemic, listening to Mr. Carroll is a good place for us to start. And with that, Madam Chair, I yield back.